It's a little different. So in today's world, managers have the capability to go in and manually input dismounts when the carrier has a dismount. And they do that through RMSS, through the 4003 program, and says, okay, one dismount at the school, carrier does it 5 days a week, and it's 100 feet a day. One dismount at the hospital, done 6 days a week, 200 feet a day, whatever the case may be, for example. So in the REX world, in DPM, you cannot enter dismounts manually. They're auto-populated for you based on groupings. So when we talk about groupings and we talk about CBUs and central groupings, it is very important that we do them accurately so we get the accurate amount of dismounts and compensate the carrier accurately. But also something new here is key turns, mailbox units. Well, we've never tracked them, but in the REX world and DPM, we do. So it's very important they be accurate as well. So again, we got the two groups, mail stop groupings and mailbox groupings. So for CBU and central, mail stop groupings equals a dismount. It creates a dismount. Mailbox groupings creates your number of units. So I got an example for you. So here's the situation. I've got 5 units, right? 5 individual units, 5 key turns. It's one stop, it's one dismount, and it's 76 addresses. So for these 76 addresses, how many mail stop groups would I have? You would have one. Remember, a mail stop group equals a dismount for all 76 addresses, because again, it's only one dismount here. And remember, mailbox grouping for CBUs and centralized deliveries is the number of units. Well, I have 5 units. So you would need 5 units split across those 76 addresses. So when you go to the edit book, remember our first column in the edit book is our addresses. Second column is sequence. That third column that's highlighted there in blue is your mail stop. So I have one mail stop group because I had one dismount. What you do in the edit book to set that grouping correctly is you would click the first address, and then you would go down and click the 76th address, the last address. And then you would group. You would not group with mailboxes because I have a different amount of mailbox groups. So you would hit group, and it would fill in the other 74 addresses. You don't have to put each individual address. And now I've got to set my mailbox group so I get that correct, accurate amount of units. So you're going to select the first address, and then you're going to select the last address of the first stop, and that sets that group. And you're going to do the same thing until you have all 5 groups set because you have 5 units. Well, of course, the carrier is going to be the only one that can help you here that knows that information. So very important that their input is provided and entered this here with these groupings. So here you would also just hit group. It would create your 5 units. So if you didn't properly group your mailboxes to create the right amount of units, you're going to probably get a message. Now our systems are sort of red flags that if there are more than 24 addresses were selected for a CBU, we want you to validate that because normally CBU units don't have more than 24 addresses in one unit. It can be possible, but it's not likely. So it says, hey, what's the number of CBUs? So based on our example, there was 5. You have 2 options. You can split it, which will evenly distribute those boxes between the CBUs, so evenly distribute them amongst those 76 addresses, or you can hit modify, and that will allow you to manually group those mailboxes between the CBUs. But regardless, it has to be done so we can create those 5 units to properly compensate the carrier. So remember, dismounts you can't enter manually. So we just created some dismounts from some mail stop grouping at CBU and Central. But also we still give the credit a dismount for any other or sidewalk delivery. So if they are coded as other or sidewalk, that also creates a dismount for the carrier. Now you see these addresses, they can't be modified. This information can't be modified. That address is always going to populate the first address of the grouping if it's a mail stop grouping or the other sidewalk delivery. Now, I understand that CBU may not be located at 401 Boxcar Way. That's fine. It's just going to always default to that first address that's in that CBU. It doesn't mean it has to be at that location. As long as I create the dismount and put in the proper distance, that is fine.